Grab your wand and let's head to the Chamber of Secrets. We've got to deal with Gilderoy Lockhart and fight Slytherin's Basilisk. I'm Professorvoqas, and this is Harry Potter Wizards Unite.
Hello, Professor. I didn't see you there.
This adversary event will run from February 5th to February 8th, which is a Friday to a Monday, 11 a.m. Pacific to 11 a.m. Pacific. During the event, the feared adversaries Gilderoy Lockhart and Slytherin's Basilisk, as already mentioned, will be increased in their spawn rate, and usually there's more adversaries in general during this time, so I'm hoping that'll still be the case. We'll see some other stuff too. We'll talk about those two in just a second. In addition, 4 potions will have their Master Note reduction increase, meaning if you do the Master Notes, it's actually going to reduce the brewing time by 50%, which is the Extimulo, the Strong Extimulo, the Potent Extimulo, and the Wit Sharpening Potion. In addition, the Wit Sharpening Potion ingredients will all also have increased spawns on the ground. So if you're wanting to brew some Wit Sharpenings, not only will it be shorter times, you'll also be able to find the ingredients more readily is the idea, so which is Armadillo Bile, Newt Spleen, Ginger Root, and ground scarab beetles. I'm surprised I remembered all 4 of those ingredients. Ground scarab beetles always throws me for a loop. I always forget about that one. There will be some bundles in the store, and the only one I really want to talk about is the free bundle because it actually comes with an edible dark mark, as well as 2 healing potions, 1 extimulo potion, and 30 spell energy. But definitely go claim that because you'll want that edible dark mark because one of the tasks is going to require you to use one, although they're going to award us some more, but this will be the easiest way to get one to use for that task. Definitely a longer list of tasks to go through. Granted, you do have the whole weekend, but I definitely feel like there's a lot of tasks for this, although a lot of them kind of go hand in hand, so you end up doing a lot of them at the same time by doing the same things. The first one is to defeat 35 foes in wizarding challenges. It gets you 2 strong extimulo, which means just run fortresses throughout the time, and again, I'm not sure. It's an odd one for an adversary event since adversaries and fortresses kind of have nothing to do with each other, but as long as you're running some fortresses, 35 foes ends up being a decent number of lower level chambers, and higher level chambers obviously less because you knock out more, but it's still a decent number of chambers, so you'll probably want to at least make sure you get a head start on that right away, and do focus on this one to keep track of where you are to make sure you get all of them. Next up is to use Master Notes 8 times. It gets you 1 edible dark mark, which is nice. This is another way you can get one. And the Master Notes, obviously with the 4 potions having the reduced brew times, it'll be easier to get Master Notes going through. You don't have to wait as long. So as long as you have some ingredients coming into the event or pick them up as you're doing the event, shouldn't be too much of an issue. Again, though, something you will have to focus on, think about a little, is just make sure you keep brewing things and just keep entering those Master Notes, as opposed to forgetting about it and letting the potion brew itself without entering the Master Notes, because it's not about brewing the potion. You actually have to put those Master Notes in. Next up is use 1 edible dark mark. It gets you 2 armadillo bile. The edible dark mark, you can either get it from the bundle or you can get it from the previous task. Keep in mind, we've talked about this before, edible dark mark, it's a 30-minute duration, but you're going to get an adversary spawning right away, and then another one a little after 20 minutes. So you would, and then however much time it takes you to defeat that adversary. So if you're going to do an edible dark mark and want to get the most out of it, just make sure you set enough time aside where you know you can do these battles, as opposed to being in the middle of something. Next up is to earn 1,500 challenge experience from either fortresses or from the adversary chains, because you get a little bit of challenge experience for that. It gets you 6 Snowdrop, which you can use for those extimulo potions to use the Master Notes on and complete that other task. And honestly, if you're going to get 35 foes in wizarding challenges, you're going to get a healthy chunk of this 1,500. Fighting adversaries does get you smaller bits, and if you fought a ton of adversaries, you would certainly meet this. But if you wanted the quickest of the ways to get challenge experience, it's going to be from going into fortresses, and the higher level fortresses you do with more people is going to get you more experience. This is one that'll go hand in hand with the defeat 35 foes. Just doing the 35 foes and doing the 1,500 will kind of happen. In addition, while you're doing the adversaries, you'll knock this out. Use 7 extimulos in adversary combat will get you 20 spell energy. The adversary combat is going to have to be any of those chains, and we are brewing these potions already. A lot of the adversaries, we do have to use potions now and again anyway. As a professor, I certainly do. Even for Slytherin's Basilisk and Gilderoy Lockhart, you know, a strong extimulo, or at least an extimulo, to make it through before I die, or a healing if some bad RNG happens and they hit me a bunch of times. So any 7 potions, so regular, strong, or potent, will work for this task. Use 3 Wit Sharpening Potion in adversary combat will get you 4 healing potions, which is useful, the healing potions in adversary combat, Definitely need to use them every once in a while. The wit sharpenings, again, you can use them and compound them with an extimulo to make things go faster. So some of the, like a Gilderoy Lockhart, some of you may not even need to use both of them. So maybe you could just use a wit sharpening, even though it's not as effective, but it's okay. Just to at least complete this task. Also, a good time leading up to the event is if you have any wit sharpening gifts and you send them to your friends, you'll be helping them stock up before this event to have those wit sharpenings to use, because you're going to need 3 wit sharpenings coming into this, or you're going to need to brew them as it goes along. But if you've got the gifts and you've got the friends, go ahead and send them to them, and you can hook them up with being ready for this particular task. Deal 25,000 damage to adversaries, get you 1 defense against Dark Art Book. You don't really need to focus on that. If you're using the 7 extimulos and just going around fighting adversaries, you're not probably going to have to keep track of how much damage have you done. The 25,000 will just happen as long as you just keep fighting adversaries, and they should be spawning as it is an adversary event. The last 2 tasks are to return 10 artifact fragments from either the Lockhart adversary chain or the Slytherin's Basilisk chain. They get you 1 defense against Dark Arts Book each, and those are the fragments you're going to get from the chain. Guard number 1 is going to drop a fragment, guard number 2 is going to drop a fragment, and then when you fight the end boss, Lockhart or the Basilisk, they're going to drop 2 fragments for you. So that's going to be every time you fight one of them all the way through successfully, you're going to get 4 fragments. So to get 10, you would need to fight them twice. That'll get you 8. And then really, if you just wanted to go through the guards on one of them and not even fight the third one, that would get you 10. But certainly if you go through 3 of each of these, you're going to get all 10 fragments. And in the meantime, do that 25,000 damage. Use those extimulos. So a lot of these tasks, although there are a lot of them, if you go and fight adversaries and use potions occasionally while you're doing it, you're going to finish a lot of these tasks just by itself. If you manage to complete the full set of tasks, you're going to get 5 defense against Dark Arts books, which will be helpful in addition to the other ones that reward you, in addition to the fact that adversaries award you defense against Dark Arts books, which means you should build up a little bit for this event. That's really the biggest thing you can probably get out of this event. But you also do get an edible dark mark in the end reward, so another edible dark mark. So essentially they're giving you 1 from the bundle, they're giving you 1 from a task reward, and they're giving you 1 at the end. They're giving you 3. And you have to use 1. So you should have a net gain of 2 edible dark marks if you've done all the tasks and everything at the end of this event. So it is cool that they're giving us that, since edible dark marks do cost a decent amount of gold. And then of course the rewards, experience, gold, that kind of thing, nothing major. Looking at the 2 adversaries we'll be fighting for this event, the first one is Gilderoy Lockhart, and you can see his 2 guards are both pixies, a common pixie and a dangerous pixie. Now the pixie's Professor, that's me, we definitely have an advantage over them. So we're just going to do a little more damage, that kind of thing. Or some Magizoologists, not so much. But I really don't feel like they're so dangerous that any of you will have any trouble with them. It's just something to note that the guards, you do get type advantages if you didn't already know. Now when it comes to Gilderoy Lockhart, nobody has an advantage or disadvantage against him. We're all on the same footing in that sense. He is one of the lower level feared adversaries, if there were levels involved. And I don't think any of you should have too much trouble. Again, if you use potions, then definitely easier. And I know some of you can go through probably without even using a potion, as long as you don't have super bad RNG. So when you're fighting him, no real worries. Just know that pixies come up first and then Lockhart afterwards. And just to have potions ready always have some healing potions ready. That's one of the big ones, that if you run out of that, even if you're doing enough damage, if he gets some lucky hits on you, sometimes you could die that way. So healing potions almost always need to be had, whereas you could survive without an extimulo if you had a healing, but sometimes you can't survive without healing and extimulo because you still don't kill him fast enough. But again, I don't think he'll be too much trouble for most of you. Next up is Slytherin's Basilisk, which has a formidable serpent and then a fierce acromantula, both of which Magizoologists will actually have an advantage against in the guard department. And then Slytherin's Basilisk, just like Lockhart, nobody has any advantage or disadvantage, just have to fight it. The Basilisk, I will say the targeting reticule, just keep an eye on it. If memory serves, it definitely does kind of an up-down at a kind of an angle. And as I've said before, Lockhart, by the way, I don't feel like his targeting thing is too hard. It's small, but it stays in a very specific location, so it's really not too hard to track once you see it once. The Basilisk, though, I will say, as with any that move a lot, my recommendation is be slow, if anything. Get behind it. So just don't do drastic movements. Don't oversteer. because it's always easier to catch up. So as it goes up, if you're going a little slow, you can see you're going slow, and then you can just speed up a little. But if you go too fast, you have to come back down to it, and it's moving in the opposite direction, so then you oversteer that way. So just a good strategy if you haven't fought a lot of adversaries, you're not used to it, is just don't oversteer. Really just take everything in a minimal way. Steer less, and then you can always catch up and you'll start to kind of get that rhythm. Again, potions are certainly useful against these. As a professor, I'm pretty sure I could not make it through the basilisk. The guards, I can definitely make it through without any potions, just kind of a back and forth, unless I got really bad RNG. But for the basilisk itself, definitely for me, I end up having to use some potions, and since we have to use them anyway for those tasks, I'll definitely be throwing them out, but I wouldn't even be able to usually defeat it without using potions of some sort. So going into this event, how am I preparing for it? You can see on my screen right now, I'm at my potions. I've been brewing a lot of extimula potions and witch sharpening, even though I know during the event we'll be able to brew them, but during the event I'll be using these, which means I'll be brewing at the same time. Number one, to get those master notes for that task, and then number two, to just keep replenishing. But I wanted to have enough going in that I really had a good stock. So you can see I have like 29 stimulos, 28 strongs, 27 potents. I usually keep about the same of each. And then down at the bottom, 37 witch sharpenings, and then my healings, I have 32 healing potions. So a decent number going in that I feel I can stay on top of things, in addition to picking up ingredients during the event and brewing, and I'll continue to be picking up ingredients leading up till then, and maybe not using them, waiting for those shortened brew times so I can start going on those. For any of you that are newer to the game and you're kind of wondering where this all even is, if you're on your suitcase here and you go to the registry, and then at the bottom of the registry, we're in exploration right now. To the right, it says challenges. We're going to click on that. And then we hit the registry, and then the first page that comes up, it's all the way to the left of your challenge registry. You'll see Draco, is you can just start scrolling down. Gilderoy Lockhart is the third one down, and then the Slytherin's Basilisk is the fourth one down. And in general, they've got it where the top one, Draco, is the easiest, down to Narcissa, which is the hardest. So third and fourth are Gilderoy and Slytherin's Basilisk. So it shouldn't be too hard. And then the next event this month is Aragog, which is kind of the next one down. This is where you can keep track of kind of what's happening. In general, for me at least, it seems like I end up placing an image once, like Gilderoy, I'm 8 out of 9, and then everything else requires more fragments, so it's going to take me longer. Generally, I'll end up placing Gilderoy. I'll probably build him back up again and then not place him just to carry the fragments over, because I really do want to get to the higher pages quicker, because, and I'll click on, say, this portrait of Gilderoy Lockhart, painting a portrait of Gilderoy Lockhart, which I think is awesome. Anyway, I'm at the standard page. If I place that image, I'm going to get 3 defense against dark arts books. But for bronze, it goes up to 7, 15 for silver, and then 32 defense against dark arts books when you place an image on the gold page. And yes, it takes more fragments, but the per fragment efficiency is better, meaning it still takes less fragments to get a certain number of defense against dark arts books when you're on the later pages. So it's better to just move to the later pages as quickly as possible. Rather than placing images over and over again on this page, saving those fragments so you can move to the next page and actually prestige that page faster, it will be better for you. You still have a couple days to prepare for this event, so maybe brew some potions now, even though those shorter brewing times, but maybe have some potions ready going into this event. If you have witch sharpening gifts, send them to your friends so that maybe even trade them so that you can get some back. But send some to your friends so that they've got some witch sharpenings going in, and load up on any ingredients you find for either the extimula potions or the witch sharpening, and maybe save those going in so you have the ability to start brewing on day 1 of the event. That's going to do it for this guide. I hope it helps you prep and get through the adversary event. As always, thank you guys for watching this video, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Nox.